Everybody tells you to eat whole foods. Everybody tells you to stay away from processed foods. But nobody explains and tells you why it's important. Why it's preventing you from losing fat. Why it's preventing you from seeing your abs or whatever your goals may be healthier, have more energy. So in today's video, I'm going to outline exactly the importance of whole foods, sticking to a whole food diet 80, 70 to 90% of the time, depending on your goals, whether you're trying to be to the far end spectrum of healthy or to the lower end or shorter end spectrum of healthy, and explain to you what the difference and how you can identify whole foods versus processed foods. So before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Matthew. I'm an online fitness coach, and I help men transform their lives that are skinny, fat, and want to lose weight and feel better about themselves, have a little bit more confidence. Why? Because I was in the same position as you. I changed my life, and now I feel amazing. I have energy 24/7. The confidence is always through the roof, and I just want other people to experience the exact same thing that I was able to experience. So let's get into the video. First things first, what is the difference between whole foods versus processed foods? Well, just like the name says, processed foods are those that have been processed. Anything that has gone through any sort of processification, has gone through refineries, has gone through chemically made or altering of the ingredients of the foods. So if you really think about it, why do these type of foods make you feel like shit? Why do they cause you to gain weight? And why do they cause you to have such low energy? Well, first let's talk about why do they cause you to, or let's quickly highlight why do they make you feel like shit? First of all, they're not God-made or God-given foods. They're not foods like fish. They're not foods like potatoes. They're not foods like fruits and vegetables that have been given to us through the earth and through natural processes of growing foods. They're not foods like apples, bananas, spinach, things that grow naturally without any human interference. That's the number one thing. Anytime humans interfere in the things that we eat, it will always make you feel worse. It will always do something to your body and cause you to feel worse than if you were to eat just one ingredient foods. And that's my next point, one ingredient foods. That is the main way and the easiest way to identify whether or not you are eating a whole food and whether or not it's going to make you feel like shit. Whether or not it is one ingredient food or multiple ingredient food. So, of course, now we have a lot of foods that need to be packaged, whether it be for longer shelf lives, which are good and which are beneficial in my opinion, because there's so much people rather than before we'd had less people on this planet. But if you want to feel your best, if you want to perform your best, and if you want to look your best, 90% of the time, what should be going into your mouth is foods with one ingredient. So like I mentioned, eggs. There's no other ingredient in eggs besides eggs. Obviously, it's a chemical, I'm not too scientific, but I'm assuming some sort of chemical, biological, and physiological reaction that goes on for the egg to be made into an egg. But humans did not have to interfere for that egg to appear. Yes, they may have helped the chickens lay the eggs a little bit faster. Yes, they may have created a home for the chickens or whatever to, include more chickens and more production, because production is important. But they actually didn't come into the lab and add some sort of acids, some sort of fats, remove the fibers in order for you to be able to eat that egg. But if you think about candy bar, for example, where does that come from? It doesn't just come from the ground. You can't just pull it out of the ground and be like, oh yeah, this is a candy bar. Yeah, it's been given to us by God and it's made on this earth. No, that's not how this works. Humans had to interfere into making a candy bar, and that's why they taste so delicious. Because they've made it to taste where you can just overeat and have 3, 4, 5, 6 candy bars, and you're just like, I'm still hungry. And that is the number 2 point that I'm making, is why it's so easy and so easy to get fat and so hard to lose weight when you eat processed foods. And that is because when you eat processed foods, it's much more easier to overeat rather than to actually maintain or even sometimes go below your calorie maintenance when it comes to eating whole foods. For example, 300 calories, or let's just say 300 calories. 300 calories in potatoes is, and believe me when I tell you this, a lot of food. You have to eat a lot of potatoes, boiled, roasted, whatever. Obviously not deep fried, because we're not talking about deep fried here, in order to get 300 calories. It's almost 1-to-1 with grams. 300 grams of potatoes is 300 calories plus or minus 10 grams, 10 calories. So if you think about it, how much food you have to eat in potatoes, and then people tell me, oh, but I'm so scared to be eating carbs. Carbs are keeping me fat, so I'm just not going to avoid carbs. No, it's the fucking stupid candy bars that you're devouring that are keeping you fat, because that little smidge, 10 grams, or however heavy that candy bar is that you're eating, 50 grams, 100 grams, is 200 to 500 calories. And you can eat 3, 4, 5 of those, like I mentioned, without any problem. But then try eating 3, 4, 5 servings of 300 grams of potatoes. You won't be able to unless you've really committed and devoted yourself to eating that much food. It's almost unpleasant to eat that much food. So why do I bring this up? I bring this up because so many people complain and talk about, oh, I'm just not losing fat, I'm just going to give up carbs. Carbs are going to be the reason why I am not losing weight, and that's settled. And they give up carbs or they limit their carbs, but then they still struggle to lose weight. It's precisely like I just mentioned. You're still overeating some aspect in life, some area, whether it be too much sauces, whether it be too much oils, whether it be too much fats in these different ingredient foods, that's causing you to still overeat, not allowing you to lose that weight. So that's point number 2. But if you stick to one ingredient foods, your satiety will come in much faster and you'll get full much faster, meaning you're not going to overeat any longer. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention, was why you feel like shit. Lab made, chemically made, human altered. That's number 1. Number 2 was exactly how high processed foods are easier to overeat, which is why they're keeping you fat. And number 3, how to identify and how to keep yourself from eating these processed foods, and when should you eat the processed foods. So when should you eat the processed foods? Never. But obviously humans aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. I like to devour some crumble cookie once in a while. I like to devour some pizza once in a while. So trust me when I tell you, don't feel guilty when you do eat these processed foods, because that's the last thing you want to feel. You don't want to have a toxic relationship with food, and you don't want to feel like you're constantly being restricted and not allowing yourself to eat the things you want to eat. Because at the end of the day, we do want to allow ourselves to do the things that we want, because that's what makes humans humans, the freedom to do things. But the knowledge that you get from this video and the knowledge that you get in the beginning is what is going to allow you to have that altering change of thought when you make your decisions, when first buying, or when you're eating, or when you're choosing what to eat throughout the day. So, make the decisions based on how you want to feel. So ask yourself, this is what I do. This is literally what I do when I eat something, when I'm comparing, okay, am I ready to prepare? Am I prepared to feel like shit for the next couple of hours after eating this? Whether it be a pastry, whether it be physically like shit or mentally like shit, because that's really the two ways. And then if you do it for a long period of time, it's going to make you feel like spiritually like shit, because eventually the food that you're eating is going to affect your soul. And then your soul, and that's why people become depressed. Because feeling emotionally like shit for a long period of time will lead you to feel spiritually shit, because your emotions and your spirit are really connected. But that's a video for another time. So, if you think about it, if you ask yourself, okay, am I ready to feel like shit physically, or am I ready to look like shit physically for a while, because it's going to cause bloating. It's going to cause you to look and retain a lot of water, and it's going to cause you and then to emotionally feel like shit. So am I prepared to go through this for at least 12 hours? If the answer is no, then don't put it into your body in the first place. And it's just as simple as that. Before you put the crumble cookie, before you put the pastry, before you put the chocolate, before you put the chips, before you put the candy into your mouth, obviously grams like this is not going to have too much effect. But, in large amounts, before you put it in large amounts into your mouth, ask yourself, am you ready to be prepared to feel like shit for a while? And most of the time, you're going to say no. So then all it takes is just a little bit of discipline and self-control in order for you not to do it. Right? Most of us struggle with self-control. But if we just pair self-control with knowledge, then all it takes is pairing those two things, and you can get anything that you want in life. Self-control paired with knowledge will lead you to the path that you want to be led to. Whether that be with business right now, for example. Whether that be with your fat loss goals, whether that be with your relationship goals. Like, let me put you, I know this is mostly fitness and self-development, but I want to put you on a little bit of relationship advice and a little bit of relationship game, since I'm in a relationship for 6 years and I have a very successful and happy relationship going on. If you want a successful, happy relationship, it takes two things, like I just said, self-control and discipline. So when it comes to self-control, and let's just say communication, but that's a topic for another time. Self-control, let's focus on self-control and discipline. If you have the self-control to not indulge with other women, if I'm speaking to men here, if you have the discipline to stay loyal to your wife or loyal to your partner, then you have a successful, happy relationship. Why? Because you're not focused on other people. How do I make this woman happy? How do I make this woman happy? How do I please this woman? You're just focused on one woman. And then if you cut out, of course, what most men deal with is porn and their fantasies throughout the world, then you'll actually learn what a successful and happy relationship looks like, where it's two people respecting with each other, two people growing, building together, and compounding that relationship. But if you're constantly unself-controlled, meaning you're looking at other relationships, you're comparing yourself to other relationships, and then you don't have the discipline to take your own wife on a couple of dates once a week, or not a couple of dates once a week, a couple of dates once a month. Have the discipline to, learn and develop your knowledge on how to make her happy, have conversations with her, asking her, okay, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, how can I improve, etc., etc., etc. And there's no reason that you should have an unsuccessful relationship. Obviously, if you're not meant to be together, or if you just don't click, that's a different story. But if you have the self-control as to not compare your relationships with other people, oh, this person does this, why can't we do this? Oh, this relationship is going to travel here, why can't we travel here? Oh, this relationship acts this way. Everybody's different. Have some self-control. Stop comparing yourself to other people and focus on your own relationship. Focus on how you can develop a stronger relationship with each other and not be influenced by outside factors. And it's the same thing with your fat loss journey, with your fitness journey. Have some self-control with the things that you put in your mouth. Have some self-control and discipline to show up every single day, to go to the gym, hit your workouts, rather than sit and watch Netflix for hours, or just God knows what else there is to do when you're not working or when you're not wasting time. Like video games, I don't know what people do these days to waste time. Video games, Netflix, scrolling. That's like if you just replace those three things with going to the gym and having some self-control with what you put into your mouth, you'll be fine. You'll go where you want to go. And then the self-control aspect comes from, how am I going to decide what to put in my mouth? Well, I'm going to remember Matthew's video that I just watched. And he said one ingredient foods 80 or 70 to 90% of the time. So am I going to look at my food that I'm eating today? Okay, sweet potatoes, yeah, that's one ingredient. Okay, rice, okay, yeah, that's one ingredient. Okay, chicken breast, yep, that's one ingredient. Should be good to go. I can't overeat on this. It's going to make me feel great. It's going to make me look great eventually if I stick with this a long enough period of time. And that's it. So if you enjoyed this video, if you found some value with it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And if you're new, definitely subscribe. And if you're looking to lose some weight, feel better, and you're looking for a coach, send me a DM on Instagram or LinkedIn. Connect with me on those two things, and I'll see if I can help you out. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.